She's wearing the shirt.
Nice.
So I am 1-2 and a trainer, and I just love how hands-on the training process is with the academy. There's lots of lessons to go through in the training center, and then I just love the application process of the exam. I think it's very on the district level innovation bench, and so it's very applicable to me. So I just think if you think it's daunting to go into the training center and take those lessons and work through it, and it's really stuff that helps me and helps their educators in my district.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. And thanks everyone on a Monday morning pre-9 meeting and greeting and sharing stuff with each other. So thank you. That is just a taste of Bachelor Nation / Innovator Nation, the kind of community that that you are a part of. Mark, did you want to tackle really quickly, maybe you want to introduce yourself and perhaps tackle Jean-Pierre's question, if you had to say it in a nutshell, what is an innovator? What are we doing here?
Wow, okay, that's great. So I'm Mark Wagner. I'm really blessed and lucky over the last decade and change now to have had a role in this program. So I was at the very first Google Teacher Academy in 2006 as a lead learner, and ran it for years, and I'm really excited to be working with Wendy running it now, and Becky and all of the Googlers involved. So it's been an incredible adventure, as you can imagine, over 10 years. But in terms of who the innovators are, like they're very much evangelists, and not for the Google brand so much as for innovation in education. That's the name. In general, the community, I think, is the most prolific, creative community of educators I've ever been a part of. And it's people like people in the room, like everybody sitting up here, who are working hard in their schools every day, making a difference, moving things forward, impacting kids, and sort of daring to try to do that on a larger scale. So that's not what it says on the website, but that's what I say.
Answer your question, Jean-Pierre? Okay, cool, awesome. We will get into how to actually apply to become a part of it, what the requirements are, and you can ask these awesome panelists for some tips. But thanks for that overview, Mark. And thanks everyone for joining our back channel. Just a quick reminder on our group date, bse.ly/innovators ISTE. And I'm gonna ask you all right now to reflect after your group date. Please put into the chat and maybe let us know what is your spark? What's one thing you're passionate about at your school right now? No right or wrong answer. Just go ahead and type. And you can also introduce yourself on there and say where you're from. And we'll quickly share in the back channel and one thing you're passionate about right now in education. Maybe it's project-based learning. Maybe it's trying out makerspaces. Whatever it might be. Let's hear what you're passionate about. Awesome. Kristen's passionate about virtual field trips, student agency, Ian. Awesome. I love student choice. Very cool, guys. Transforming, creating ongoing digital portfolios. This is great. Flip learning, NPBL, getting teachers to try. I love that. Teresa and Mesa just says try. Is Teresa in here or is she global? Oh, yeah, get them to try, right? That kind of spirit, for sure. Passionate about digital equity. Great, Lee. Very, very cool. There's so many different sparks of passion and innovation right here in this room. I hope you can feel the energy too. There's a lot of really good energy in here. So I want you to keep that passion that you have because we're going to play with that idea here in a little bit after we hear from our panelists. Share. If you want, throw your Twitter handle up there. Again, building our PLN. The Google for Education Certified Innovator hashtag is #GoogleEI. So that is a network that you can patch into right now and be a part of as well. So please throw your Twitter if you want to grow your PLN right now, or PL family, like I like for what Sarah said yesterday. So I like family for sure. It certainly feels like that. Cool. And before we get going, you can see all of their innovation projects, the actual product that innovators work on. Innovative people keep making stuff, and they keep trying stuff, and maybe they end one and start another one, or it grows. So the innovation projects are at the heart of being a Google Certified Innovator. It may have been known as Action Plan in the past, but you can go to the Transformation Center And you can see a bunch of really great projects to get inspired as well. And there's a few fun ones up there, like breakout. That's EDU Transformation Center, and it'll be in the deck I give at the end as well. But yeah, if you just Google Transformation Center, you can find it and roam around in there. And you can also see the directory of all these beautiful people up here as well. All right, cool. So I'm going to start. I'm a little out of order, but that's okay. I'm going to introduce our panelists, and when I do, I would love to have the panelists. I'll share with you, of course, your cohort that you went through. What you're up to now. You can see their Twitter handles, so please feel free to tweet them right this moment and say, Sandra, you just blew my mind. And then I'm going to ask, if you wouldn't mind, panelists, I'll maybe ask you a question when I come to you about either your project that you're working on right now or your experience in the program. Does that sound good, panelists? And if bonus points if we get the mic to work, but I know each and every one of us have a pretty rockin' teacher voice too. All right, so without further ado, we'll introduce our first panelist, Sandra Chow from MTV 14 in Toronto and an instructional liaison. Sandra's also been a coach and a mentor for the program. I didn't know if you wanted to share a little bit about being a coach and a mentor to Innovators, Sandra.
So, the Teacher Academy, when it was actually called the Teacher Academy, Google Teacher Academy, and Wendy was my coach at that time. And it was really changing for me because it opened up an opportunity to connect with a lot of people. I'm from Canada, and I had just come back from Taiwan, so I had a small network of people that attending the academy allowed me to not only connect with people it was my tribe. It was people that I knew understood my passion for education and wanted to do great things. Hide, and it was amazing to be able to meet people like Tara, who was also in my cohort. And since then, I attended the academy in a different role as a coach, and it has been amazing for me. I did a project on student tech teams, and it was a great opportunity to work with my tribe and a group of other educators who were in my academy. But as a coach, I get to see projects spring up and sprout and grow and become trees that have made such impact in education and be able to share that with other people and to promote it. And so, for example, one of the innovators I was coaching, she's right here. And she started, I don't want to take her project away, but she started working with other administrators, which is such an important area to work with. Another innovator who is in Canada has been starting a space website with an intention to really grow the resources available for space learning. And so he's attached it to NASA and the Canadian Space Agency, and he's worked with Commander Hatfield, who is a very important astronaut in Canada. And it's just amazing how much resource you have access to once you attend the Innovator Academy, and the group of educators that can support you. And it's so great to be inspired by all the projects that sprout from people who are just passionate.
Oh, thank you. Give it up for Sandra. Thank you. We did have a question about getting there, kind of a logistical one. So Leslie asked, do you have to pay for travel accommodations? You do have to show up face-to-face to an academy at a Google office around the world, but you do have to get yourself there and get accommodations. But I think innovators have been creative about district support and administrative support. Totally free food event, free swag event. And I don't know if anyone thinks they went their office experience, but maybe Sandra, since I've already introduced you, what was your favorite part about the Google Office experience?
They have everything, and they have this Japanese.
Sandra actually missed half the session because she was sorry. All right, cool. Thank you so much, Sandra. We'll come back to you, but hopefully you got to see a little bit about that year-long programming that's part of this too, that it doesn't end at the very end of the event, but you're hopefully getting coached through launching a project, which we'll dig into the design thinking process here in a bit. Next is her partner in crime, Kim Palushki, a digital literacy resource teacher from Toronto as well. Again, in the back channel, if you have questions for Kim or Sandra or just about the Innovator program in general, keep them flowing for sure. Want to tell us a little bit about your experience?
So my name is Palushki. I am, as Wendy said, a digital literacy resource teacher. I'm also from Ontario. I work for the York Region District School Board. It was really transformative. And I think it's important to say that the project that I originally applied in order to get in with, I actually didn't continue with because they really value the concept of iteration and pivoting once you're there. So we go through these sparks and sprints. So they inspire us for about 30 minutes or so, and then they give us time to think and process and collaborate and plan. And through those moments of reflection, I was talking with the mommy of that beautiful baby that we saw earlier, Natalie, and had this moment of, wow, you know what, I really wish I knew then what I know now. And what I was referring to was my time in faculty education. And when that moment hit me, I went, oh, I wish I knew then what I know now. And my project pivoted at that very moment, and I changed to try to focus and spend my year on helping students in faculties of education receive the kind of powerful, inspiring, motivating learning that we are all experiencing here at ISTE and at summits in our neighborhoods, so that they can have access to that kind of knowledge to get into the classroom, so they can hit the ground running, because you've got it, even if you don't know it, you have to know that you don't know it. You have to know that it's okay and you can ask. So I've been working with Boise, the Ontario Institute for Studies in Education in Ontario, doing some workshops for them, trying to organize a summit type experience for their Master's in Education program and their Faculty of Education program undergrad, so that we can help the student teachers get a running start. One of the best things about the program that I found was, as you mentioned, the year-long experience. So often we'll go to a workshop and we'll be inspired, and we will be ready to make this change, and then the workshop finishes, and then you're sort of left there. But what the Innovator program does a wonderful job of doing is pairing each innovator with not just a coach. Mine was Mark Hammons, he's here somewhere. He was fantastic those 3 days that we were there. But then throughout the entire year, they pair you with a mentor. And my mentor, I love so much, Jeffrey Humphreys. He supported me and guided me the entire year. And to be honest, even though my year is up, he still checks in. He still says, how's it going? What do you need? He's been wonderful. And so I think that they really take care in making authentic and meaningful partnerships between each innovator and their mentor throughout the year to help us so that we don't feel overwhelmed, so that we feel like it's manageable, so that we feel like we can take those risks, our projects, and try to make an impact. Work, that's okay too. Moonshot goals. What is your ultimate goal, and how can you? It doesn't, because you can iterate, you can change, you can make an impact somewhere. We really want to make us comfortable to feel like we can take that risk. So the program for me was really transformative, and I look forward to whatever I take on next. And I've taken on the role of mentor as well now. So it's very much a community that we are always giving back, and I'm very grateful for that experience.
Yeah, give it up for Kim. Thanks so much, Kim. Cool. And on the back channel, it looks like Mark shared the Google pillars of innovation and the culture of innovation. So Kim really captured that nicely, of that culture of innovation within the cohort as well. And because it is Innovators Tell All, your toilet experience, did you have a cool toilet as well?
I love the napping pods.
toilets.
Nice.
I got to sit in one and roll it around.
To clarify, the napping pod is not the toilet, but nice. Thank you, Kim. All right, keep the questions coming, guys. This is interactive, so if you have, maybe you can share right now in the chat about culture of innovation at your schools or where you're coming from. Do you have that culture, or would this start that for you? So share a little bit about culture at your school in the back channel, and we'll listen to that. Let's go ahead and go to our next panelist, Mr. Jesse Lubinski, who is an OG from 2008. So he went back to the program back before it got year-long support.
Sitting on stage who actually
Wait a second. Mark says I can out-hold you. Don't worry.
Yeah, I don't think it counts though. I started the program. Yeah. I joined the Google Certified Teacher program. There was actually a geographical requirement to live within 50 miles of the site. My competition was really like, it wasn't the world. It was really just like everyone within the area. We actually ran a Trailblazer Academy yesterday as part of the pre-workshops for ISTE, and we were asked to kind of tell a 5-minute story about where we were. And for years I have now hidden the fact that I believe that getting into the Google Certified Teacher program actually kind of kickstarted my journey. And I say that given that back when I became a GCT, it was a one-day kind of sit and learn about tools, and really the value I got out of that was from the people I met and the networking that happened. Since it's relaunched as the Innovator program, so I haven't been to one of the new cohorts yet, but I have served as a mentor to two people, one Colorado cohort and London cohort. And I will tell you, when people ask me for advice in terms of submitting applications, my one thing is in terms of your vision, the project that you want to really work on, you can't think big enough. So I know some people tend to think, they think with a cap in terms of what's possible, and my advice would be don't. Because again, the supports that are put into place, there's a lot of people, a lot of connections in this program that if you need something, we're going to try to find a way to make it happen through the people we know. So I know people who come in with ideas that they just thought were too big. Really, I mean, the ideas that we see coming in applications are just so incredible. It's such a shame that only 36 people can be part of the board when you see hundreds of amazing ideas that come from you. I just really encourage you to really push forward. The one thing I'll kind of speak to that Kim kind of spoke about, she spoke about her relationship with Jeff as far as mentee-mentor. That relationship is equally valuable for us serving in the mentor capacity, because I'm sure you know, in education can be a very lonely place sometimes. That classroom door closes sometimes, and it could be. It's empowering, but also it could also feel like the most isolating thing ever. And that relationship, the ability to have that person to really go out and ask questions to, is valuable on both ends of that conversation. So for as much as I feel like I've helped push those projects forward for my mentees, I think they've helped push my thinking and actually made my work better as a result of that relationship. So between the coaches, the mentors, all the aspects of what's involved with the Innovator program, it really can change your practice and change who you are as an educator. So I couldn't recommend trying to be a part of this program.
Awesome. Give it up for Jesse. Thanks, Jesse. Follow him at Jay Lubinski. And great back channel questions here about innovation culture. It was great to see, I think Pam was saying an innovator's mindset. If Pam's in the room, very awesome. Ms. Strasby modeling innovative thinking, so modeling that for sure. We did have a question, I don't know, to follow up, Jesse. Conversely, can an idea be too small, asks Eduardo.
My gut? Yeah, I mean, so with all the applications I see, I think it's fair to say we're looking for people who are looking to kind of change the face of education. We want those big, broad ideas. So, yeah, I mean, it would be nice to say, no, it's not. But yeah, I think, which is not to say that if you're looking at a project to impact your school, that's too small. I don't think that's the case at all, even your class. It's not that. It's not the scale of it. It's really the idea itself. So,
yeah.
And if I can chime in, also, sometimes it's not the
idea of the solution that
Right.
that is really, really innovative, make a big impact for others. And just one more thought. If your idea is smaller, just consider if it's replicable. Because if you can create a project that is just for your students, but it's very replicable and can happen elsewhere, that's the far-reaching change that you can make it for.
Piggybacking on Kim's point, one of the things I've talked about with both my mentees, and actually something I look for, that scalability piece. If you could think about that upfront, almost at 10x, right? How are you going to, before you even submit it, think about how would you 10x that? How would you make that so much bigger? How is that going to scale? So that I feel like with that mentor piece, scaling, that's the part. But if you think about that up front and you kind of have a vision for what that's going to look like, that'll help a long way.
Totally. And hopefully with those passionate items you threw in the chat earlier, whether or not you apply for the Certified Innovator Program, all of you can go back and make this kind of scale and change. This just happens to be a supported network to help do that. But hopefully all of these things are super applicable to something cool you want to do this year in your classroom. So thanks, Jesse, and thanks, Sandra and Kim, for sharing. All right, I'd love to introduce Ms. Tara Linney, an ed tech coach from Singapore, all the way over. How long was your flight, Tara?
Which one? So I've been in the country now for 3 weeks. I'm American. And moving to Singapore was actually my first time leaving the US. And part of that is thanks to being so connected. So there's this guy named Jay Atwood. Raise your hand if you know him. Okay, so about 2 years ago on October 30th, he sent out a tweet. I remember tweets. He sent out a tweet saying that his school was hiring for a tech coach, and his school at the time was Singapore American School. So I favorited it, and then talked to my good friend over here, Sarah Thomas, when I was filling out the application, and hit submit, and the rest is kind of history. And then I had to figure out what Singapore was. So I was in Sandra's cohort in Mountain View 2014, and it was a really mind-blowing experience. Just being at the Mountain View headquarters was really surreal. It was like, whoa, this is where it all began. And having food every 150 feet was awesome. I started making cappuccinos for people in our cohort, and then Googlers came up, and I just kept making them. It was really great, but not just the food and the coffee, but just meeting people and being connected in a community that starts off as being your cohort, but then it becomes so much more than that, has been really just great. For example, about 3 months ago, I was doing something with Awesome Tables. Has anybody heard of that tool? Okay. They're not awesome at first, but after the little hump, they're amazing. And I came into a lot of roadblocks. So people from my cohort know me as the queen of iteration, because to get into the academy, it took me 6 times. So I applied 6 different times and iterated quite frequently. I was like, oh, it's just the video that's wrong. Oh, it's my responses that are wrong. So each cohort, I changed one little thing. And then the final application, I just changed everything, and it worked. So the same kind of thing happened with Awesome Tables. And I had a couple of people from my cohort, and being in Singapore, it's like 12 hours away from US. And somebody from my cohort, Dan Bennett, actually stayed on a Google Hangout with me in the middle of the night for him to walk me through what I was doing wrong, which was great. So just having this network of people that you can talk to and kind of lean on for support, and just be there for as well, has been really. Singapore is way on the other side of the world, and a lot of opportunities.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Tara. And Tara will be making cappuccinos outside in the hall in a half hour. So if you put your order in the back channel, we'll have that ready for you. So awesome. Thanks so much, Tara. And I think Tara is a really good example of a lot of innovators end up changing their jobs or getting PhDs or, just following these passions or different ones. And I think having that support network, I think all of you are in some sort of chat with your cohort that you have, that people share births and birthdays and problems, right? So having this network to lean on is really strong for sure. Somebody did ask in the back channel a couple of things about feedback that Tara was talking about. Like she had a great person to get feedback from. But yes, there can only be about 36 innovators per cohort because it's limited by the Google Office size. So that's why when they come out, it's good to do it like Tara, like put it out there and get something that you can work on and workshop on and see what you can do and keep trying. A lot of folks try 2, 3, 6 times to have the right fit, right? So yes, to answer that question, and there is 3 more available right now. Well, actually, Sydney just closed, so there are 2 more opportunities this year. But as Becky mentioned earlier, there will be more next year in the US and beyond as well. So keep thinking right now about those ideas or prepare and start taking the Google for Education certified exams, which somebody else asked about as well, but maybe I'll have Katie talk about it since you answered it there when we get over to Katie. So great stuff, guys. All right, let's go to our next panelist, Patrick. We have Patrick Donovan, everyone, Tech Integration Specialist, Colorado 16 cohort. So went through the new Innovator cohort program from Iowa. Donovan Science, how are you today?
Good.
Tell us a little bit about your project, your experience to share off with people.
Well, when I went to the Innovator Academy, my idea was centered on gamification. And it actually took a pivot because instead of focusing on my own gamification, I wanted to create a better resource for other people to be able to find stuff because I had trouble finding stuff. And there's so many different ways people are doing something. And there's not just one way. And that was kind of one thing I'm trying to work on is better ways to share that out. But the big thing for being part of the Innovator Academy, the group of people you meet, because there's so many amazing things that people are doing, and it keeps pushing me. You know, I get to see what some people are trying, what they're doing, what they're applying for, all the changes going on, but they have such great ideas that it's what keeps pushing me forward. Having issues, we have how many chats? I think our cohort did set the record for chats. We set the bar, especially since we have chats going on while we're all in here right now. But you know, it's just the fact that we have that strong community now willing to help you, but it's just moving me forward every day, the stuff that they're doing.
Patrick, cool. Keep those questions coming in the back channel, everyone. Now we have Melissa Oliver, who is our coordinator of instructional technology, also Colorado. And Colorado's about to wrap up their year. So their cohort was the ISTE cohort. So they somehow pulled an entire ISTE out and then came and hung out with us for 3 days after. So they are the most intense that we've ever had. But Melissa, do you want to tell us a little bit? I'd love to hear a little bit about your project now that you're wrapping up after a year being in the program. Want to share a little bit about what you're up to and your experience?
So my project is around bringing accessible design principles into the classroom and teaching students as well as teachers how to make their digital products accessible to all people, including people with disabilities. Very much motivated by my own experience. I'm hard of hearing. I have a moderate to severe hearing loss, and it's progressive. I'm losing my hearing. And so how can we empower students and build empathy around diversity in creating digital products? So there's videos and adding captions, whether it's building websites and making sure it meets PEG guidelines. So it's really around that. You can learn more at createaccessibility.com. And to just reiterate what other folks have said, really about the community, it's not about the 3 days, it's been about the year and beyond. And even though we're wrapping up in our cohort, it just continues. And so to have access to so many different people and their ideas and their support has been tremendous.
Good. Thanks, Melissa. Give it up for Melissa, everybody. Woo! All right. Now we have Miss Katie Aquino, Corona 16, instructional coach, Chicago. Want to tell us a little bit about your project and maybe to answer someone's question about feedback. So maybe if you have anything to share about when you did do your application, how did you get feedback? There isn't a formal mechanism that will spit you out, exact feedback. But we found that in the community by sharing it out, especially that Google EI hashtag. Even right now, if you have an idea and be like, hey guys, I'm thinking of doing this. Does that sound good? And people are really honest and constructive and can help you, give you resources and connections. But yeah, Katie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Katie. I'm from Chicago, So I think, yeah, the feedback for me on the application process was essential. I connected with Nick Cusimano, who went through his academy in Sydney. And we've just kind of been together at different conferences. But we did Google Hangouts, 3-4 different times where he watched my video, gave me feedback. There were definitely some crucial pieces in my video that came directly from his feedback. I also am very lucky to work with an awesome principal, Jason Markey, in the Leiden School District, who his feedback was invaluable as well. So it's kind of a nice privilege to just be able to walk down the hall and knock on his door. So it facilitated that a little bit more. But I've seen people ask questions about, are you guys willing to give us feedback? And I think, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I'm going to. I think that, yeah, putting it out there using the Google EI hashtag, or just reaching out to anybody who, on this panel, or other innovators that you know, or that you've been inspired by, if you've watched their videos on YouTube and are like, yes, that is something I would love to get that person's feedback. Reach out. Something I try to work on with my kiddos in the classroom and in my own life is like, what's the worst they can say? No. And I'm pretty sure most of us wouldn't say no. So, so yeah, and that feedback part has been essential to my journey and my project, which has gone loops and gone in different places. And I think to kind of piggyback off what Wendy has said, for the academy, I was in a transition from being a classroom teacher. So some of the ideas I had coming in were really classroom and student centric. Academy in October or November, as I was just getting my feet wet with instructional coaching, which just looked a whole lot different, and thinking process that we went through, able to grow and change as kind of my vision and my perspective has changed.
Hey everyone! Okay, because it's tell all, what was your favorite part of the Toronto Google office? Anything? Oh my God. Can you talk the toilet?
Well, I could talk the toilets at the Chicago Google office because I remember sitting in there like taking pictures and sending them to my dad. I'm a mechanical engineer. I was like, oh my God, you have to see this. Like, really? You're so used to the toilet? But the Toronto office has an amazing like little mini putt-putt course out right off of their like a rooftop one off their cafeteria, which was amazing for a little bit of downtime and perfect sunset views. So that was a great part for me.
I love it. Thanks, Katie. In the back channel, maybe you can share something inspiring at your school. Is there any inspiring spaces like a putt-putt or a cool toilet? Throw that in the back channel. All right, we're going to keep going and with our panelists, and then we'll have a chance for you to workshop those ideas really quickly before we head out of here. But I'd love to introduce Susan F. Reeves to you guys, who is a San Antonioite. So give it up for San Antonio. From 2010. So she's been around a few years in the program as well. We'd love to hear a bit about your experience in the program. Yeah.
I'm an old timer next to Mark and Jesse. I was 2010, and I got to go to a hotel in San Antonio for my So we did not have awesome Google toilets, but we had the most amazing collection of inspirational teachers and educators come. Mark was heading up our group, and I came in feeling like a very lowly, school district instructional technology specialist, and what impact could I have on the world? And I walked out feeling like I had met the most amazing educators who just took me to another level in my thinking. And that's really, for me, the impact of the program. It was an unusual cycle for me, applying multiple times, and I think I really lucked out because my boss called me. I was on an elementary campus that day, and he said, hey, there's this Google thing, and I know how much you love Google. I think you should try for it. And so it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The applications were due that night. This was in the day of Google Action. So you didn't have to apply with a project, but you did have to have a video. I ran to the library and I said, please give me a video camera. She gave me a video camera. I went room to room. I had no idea for a video. So I just went room to room, and I got teachers to give testimonials as to why I should be chosen by Google. So luckily, they talked about my passion and how I was as a trainer and the relationship I built. And If you ever see my video, if you go and look at my video, you're going to go like, oh my God, take her. But I was very fortunate. I think it was a passion of the teachers that led to me on being selected. And it's the community. It's what it's all about. And I encourage everyone to do whatever they can do to apply and try to attend one of the academies. My action plan was trying to get my district to come out of the longest Google pilot ever. For some reason, we had to have 4 years of piloting Google, and I finally gave up on official approval to start giving everybody their usernames and passwords everywhere until
This ship is flying.
they gave up. Yeah, the ship was flying. So, unfortunately, when I left my district, my action plan was a whole website of support materials, training materials. It has not continued once I left, but I'd like to think that's because things so well with people.
Yeah.
It's
Nice.
still out there.
Nice. We're glad to have you, Susan. Give it up for Susan. Thank you so much.
I have to say my favorite Google swag, Google socks. I still have my Google socks. I very rarely wear them because they're such a precious. That and the swivel stick.
Nice.
That event was particularly noteworthy too, because that's when Corey Pavasich taught all the administrators in the room how to tie their shoes in an entirely new way.
Nice. Awesome. This is Innovators Tell All. So, Catherine, you're going to tell it all right now. EdTech integration consultant from Visalia, California, and from Toronto 16 as well. So tell us a little bit. You've been working on a cool project lately.
Yes. So my project is it's siteleadersconnect.com if you are interested. But I saw administrators that were, you see it in the back channel, I see the administrators in my area were living in silos. And so I felt that to spark innovation, I wanted to connect them to other administrators in my county and beyond that were doing innovative things, because I think that a lot of times they think that's not possible. Oh, I'm just going to block YouTube. Because there's no one in the world that has YouTube open for students, surely. So anyway, what was interesting was as I had my video made and everything, and I started to think, is this even going to work? Are administrators even going to want to join networks? And then thinking of the Google design process, we start with the end user in mind. What I really like about Google's Innovator Academy is we use that design thinking process, and so we start with empathy and we start with that end user. And I remember going out in the midst of all that kind of doubt, like, what am I thinking? Like, if I get in, is this even going to work, right? And so I go to a meeting with a principal who says, I just feel so alone. I need to connect with people, and I'm so geographically far from others, and that's what did it for me. So with your project, if your idea when you're thinking about applying, or you're thinking about maybe you're not going to apply for the Innovator Academy, but whatever you're doing that you're passionate about, go back to that end user, go back to classrooms, go back to whoever it is that you work with and talk to them and find out what is it they need. And that's also helped me iterate my own project. I had this amazing vision of what I thought this was going to be, and it's changed based on what the needs of these educational leaders are. So just be willing to iterate and always go back to those end users and be passionate about people. We're not passionate about projects, we're passionate about people. So remember, it's all about the people.
Love it. Give it up for Catherine. Awesome.
And I love the food. Google was amazing.
Your tell-all food. All right. I love it. And online, it looks like Jen says your words on doubt remind of the keynote last night. So that's really amazing. All right. I'm so thrilled to be able to introduce you to Sarah Thomas. You may have saw her last night talking about PL Family, my new favorite word. Our regional tech coordinator, ATL 14, which was also right before ISTE too. So that was just 3 years ago, and cramming that into an ISTE as well from DC area. I'd love to hear a little bit, Sarah, about your experience in the program, but also advocacy and what you've done to help amplify other people's stories and your project.
Absolutely. So I'm in the DC area, so pleasure to be here, and shout out to GTA ATL 14. We were certified 3 years ago yesterday.
Woo!
So the Google Innovator program it was exactly what I needed to hear at exactly the right time. It was a message that I needed. Because I felt like I had ideas, but I was afraid to actually act on them. And a lot of times we kind of hold ourselves up when we have those mental blocks. And then when I was introduced to the idea of moonshot thinking and just going out there trying it, what would happen if you were not authentic? Just with it, and listening out for those thoughts that go through your mind for a split second, and actually holding on to them, grabbing onto them, seeing what will happen if you put them into action. So it was truly a life-changing moment for me. I really appreciate being part of the program and meeting with so many amazing people. So I guess like to answer your question about about amplifying and things of that nature, then we all have a story as educators. We all have expertise in something or something that we are all good at. So it's about recognizing that expert within and putting that message out there, and helping other people to also identify their genius and to share that with the world. Because really, when we share, like I said, it really helps our profession as a whole. Because everyone has something to share. So we definitely need to continue to put our stories out there. What works, what doesn't work, what do we tweak, what can we do better next time? Because it's like a diamond. The more you get shine on it, the more perspective you get on any particular idea, then the better it becomes. So definitely to encourage people to do the same. But absolutely, it is just that whole mindset shift changed everything.
Shine bright like a diamond with Miss Sarah Thomas. Yay! Oh, that's awesome. Thanks so much, Sarah. All right, cool guys. Well, we've told almost all, we promise. Huge round of applause. Thank you to our panelists. Woo. Hopefully you've been inspired. I wanted to spend just a couple minutes before you guys get out the door to your next session, resources for you, and also think about that initial passion you shared earlier. So you can see the design thinking process that Google for Education created with IDEO. So take this down, bit.ly/innovator design, which walks through a series of design thinking exercises to help you think about that initial problem that you have. Of course, the innovators go through these phases throughout their year. But all of you are in this discovery phase right now, where you are just trying to think of what's bothering you. You do that every day, right, as a teacher and as an educator. Yeah. Hello?
Wendy, it's Tom. I was hoping,
oh, hi.
I was hoping I'd have a chance to introduce myself as well.
Oh, oh God, that scared me. Sorry. Oh, like is that in my head? Should I say something right now? Is that person? Do I want to reveal that I heard that? Tom, yeah, hey, do you want to quickly share a little bit about your project?
Sure. Actually, well, you know what? I'm going to give a little gentle pushback against what Katie was saying. Well, here's what I would say about getting feedback from specific innovators. So we all in this community, people are posting on their blog, their Twitter, their YouTube, all that stuff, right? So you have those tools too, right? So wouldn't it be a better idea to collaborate with people, give them feedback on their posts on these platforms, and then when it's time to like seriously consider your application, say, hey, would you mind, we have this relationship, would you mind taking a look at some of my stuff for my application? I just think that would be a much more effective way to do it than first time you've ever communicated with me is, hey, you don't know me, take a look at my stuff for me. So just a little idea there. As far as my project, it's evolved into this podcast where it's a sustainable teaching podcast where I talk to educators who really inspire me and really like get me thinking like, oh man, I'm so excited to go to work after talking to them. And the idea is that the audience has that same kind of reaction to it. Sustainable teaching podcast. You can see us on iTunes, Google Play. Just look it up and please follow and like and review if you like it. And it's just been, the reason I'm not there today is because one of my fellow innovators, she is now going to be my boss. And if I had been accepted to earlier Google Academies, if I had gotten my project accepted, then that would have been a disaster for me because now I have this awesome opportunity because of someone I met at an academy. So sometimes when you get that rejection, like I said, like people in the chat mentioned my blog post, have a look at that blog post. It really is some you know, if you get a rejection, that's really not the end of the world. It's really the pursuit that's making you better and opening doors for you. It opened doors for me long before I ever was accepted. So have at it.
I love it, Tom. Tom, making jobs, right?
Exactly right.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming, Tom. We're going to share a couple more resources, but everybody give it up for Tom. Thanks for joining us. Woo! A couple things and then off on your way. So yes, you'll go through your project through ideation and actually creating something